Hey there folks, it's Chris here from tipsforlawyers.com and welcome to the Tips for Lawyers show. Are you struggling to find a job as a lawyer? Have you done a law degree? Maybe you're admitted, but you just can't get a position. Well, then this episode is for you because I want you to stop trying to get a job. Just stop. You have to completely change the way you're thinking about this process. And if you are a law student or you are a recent graduate and you are not yet employed, stop trying to find a job and start trying to make connections. By far and away, the strategy that I recommend over and over and over and over and over to young people who are struggling to get employment in the law is that they should be making connections. And so you need to reconceptualize what it is you're doing. Stop trying to find a job and start trying to make connections within the legal industry. Because it's those connections that are going to get you the job, but you're skipping the step. You're skipping the step. Every time I speak to a young lawyer who's not able to get a job, I say, well, what have you done about it? And generally the answers are all the same. They've got a CV prepared, they've gone and seen a recruiter who tells them the market's very bad and that they're going to struggle to find a job. The recruiter might put them up for a few positions in areas that they're not interested in or for jobs that they're not suitable for. They get knocked back. That's demoralizing and that impacts upon your self-esteem, and so you don't interview very well and you feel sad and you drink too much wine and then you go to sleep and you do it all over again. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. What you need to start doing is making connections. Now, what is that going to look like for you as maybe a young lawyer or as a recent graduate or as a law student or whatever you are? That's going to look like a few different things. Firstly, it's going to look like industry events. If you have any time at all, and if you're a law student, you have a lot more time now than what you're going to in the future. Go to industry events. There are many free events that are put on all over the place where lawyers go and you can introduce yourself. Start getting details. Get their names, get their firms. Introduce yourself. Be affable. Be gregarious. Do not ask them for a job immediately after shaking their hand. Just get to know them. Let them know that you're a law student, you're about to finish, what you're interested in, what your passions are, and get to know them as a human being. Now, that is step one. Be present in the legal industry. Go to events. You don't need to go to paid events, you can go to free events. Once you have done that, or as you are doing that, you can also be expanding your reach using LinkedIn. And I know I talk about LinkedIn a lot, but I talk about it because it is a powerful tool. If you want to get connected with people inside the industry, then LinkedIn is the tool to do it. Twitter is much harder because you're limited and not many people use it in some countries. Australia, it's not really that popular here. In America, it's a lot more popular and that might be a good way to get in contact with people. But here, LinkedIn is the place to go. Join some groups and start connecting with people. Be present. Make sure you have a photo and take the LinkedIn challenge. If you don't know how to take a photo, it'll take you through that process. But get your profile photo up, exist, be present, and start connecting with people that way. And then if you happen to meet them as also at an industry function, you've got that double whammy. They already know at least a tiny bit about you. They might recognize your face. I've had people come up to me at functions and go, hey, you're that LinkedIn guy. Now that's a strange thing to be called because I'm not really that LinkedIn guy. I do talk about it a bit, but you get the idea. I was already known. I already had an opener in terms of the conversation. So start engaging with people in groups. Leave comments, read articles, like things, be friendly, and make connections. Send connection requests to people who you've engaged with after they respond to you, or if you in some way think you're recognizable, send them a request saying, hey, such and such, we're in the same group together and I loved your article about the whatever with the thing. Would be great to connect on LinkedIn. If you personalize your connection requests in that way, you need have very little fear of being knocked back. It might still happen, and the worst case that will happen is that they'll click spam and you might have to take a few days break from LinkedIn if you do it too much. But the fact is you need to get out there and you need to make connections. So instead of trying to find a job, what I want you to do is spend the next week trying to make connections. This is a long game. Your legal career is a long game. And I know it's important to find a job, and I know it's stressful if you haven't been able to find one, and I know you need the money and you need to pay rent and you need to eat, but you need to flip this problem on its head and start looking at it from a different angle, because those connections are what are going to get you a warm invitation. How does that work? You've made the connections, you've met the people, you've used LinkedIn, or you've gone to industry functions, you've shaken some hands. Maybe you've used your university and the opportunities that it gives you. I know for a fact that some universities will give you opportunities for mentoring, for meeting people, for engaging with people in the legal industry, and I've done some of it myself. So use those opportunities to be connected with people in the legal industry. Once you have those opportunities, you have what is potentially a warm introduction. You can do this one of two ways. If you're brave enough, you can simply hit them up and say, hey, look, the fact is I'm looking for a job and I'm struggling to do it. Is there a possibility there's any positions going at your firm that you think you might be able to point me in the direction of? That takes a little bit more gumption, I admit, because if it hasn't been advertised, there may simply not be a position. But if you're desperate and you're polite and you're respectful and you don't give the impression that you are using these people, because that's not what you're doing, you are building authentic connections and developing a relationship. So be cautious, but be brave and be bold, but be polite. The worst case here is that they will say, no, sorry, nothing's available at the moment, but I'll keep you in mind for the future. Most lawyers understand that people need jobs and they need employment, and they won't generally take offense if you say that. And just reply and say, look, I appreciate it. Thanks very much for your time. That's all you need to do. Now, that's one option. The other option is this. If there is actually a job going and you have submitted or are about to submit your resume, hit the lawyer up that you know within the firm. If you know the lawyer within the firm and you've had enough conversations with them that it's appropriate for you to do this, then call them up and say, hey, look, I noticed your firm has a job going and I'm about to send in my application. I wondered if you could just mention that we've had some contact and that, whatever your impressions of me are. Perhaps they might offer to hand your resume to someone directly. Now, some people might do that because they get a recruitment bonus, but don't forget that they're putting their reputation on the line too. So you need to be cautious about your expectations. The best case here is that you get the warm introduction, because here's how it works. The HR department in any sort of sizable firm has a very large number of applications for every job, and they need some way of sifting that pile. And a very easy way to sift that pile is if they get a call from a lawyer who is already working in that firm and say, this person just called me, they said they've submitted a job, I've had some contact with them and they seem like a reasonable person, could you give their resume a decent look? How good would that be? You don't just get automatically put in the no pile. It might even get you through some of the GPA issues that some of you might have. It might not, but that is your best opportunity to get a job. You have that warm introduction so that HR doesn't auto-sift the pile and you simply never get looked at, and then you get a decline letter in the mail a few weeks later when your resume never even got looked at in the first place. How is it otherwise going to work? In smaller firms, that sort of personal relationship could be enough to actually get you a job. If it is apparent that a firm is looking for someone and you have engaged with someone or met them personally, which is clearly better than engaging with them online, but if you have engaged with them and they have a good impression of you, is there any reason why you shouldn't call them up directly and say, look, I noticed your firm was advertising for a position. I'm really interested in it. We've had some engagement on LinkedIn. Would you like me to submit my resume to you directly, or is there some way that you and I could have a chat about the position? Again, this involves a certain amount of boldness. I accept that, and I'm an introvert, so these are difficult things to do. But let me ask you this question. How badly do you actually want a job? Because if you tell me that you have done everything possible to get a job and you're not prepared to pick up the phone or send a direct email or get onto LinkedIn and start making connections, then I'm going to call you out. I'm going to tell you that you are not doing everything necessary and you are not doing everything possible and you are not actually wanting that job so much that you're prepared to get a little bit outside your comfort zone and into a space where you are making connections that could get you the job in the future. You've got to be patient. It's a long game, but those relationships will do you in good stead for your entire career. Make them authentically. Be genuine with people. Don't use people. Be genuine. Make connections. Be present in the industry. Be affable. Be gregarious. All these wonderful words that you would be if you were networking with potential clients. Now is your opportunity to network with your future colleagues and your current colleagues and your hopeful colleagues in a variety of different ways. So take those opportunities. So many people are down in the dumps that they can't find a job, but they're not looking actively for relationship development. They're too busy looking for jobs. Stop looking for a job and start looking for relationships. That's all I've got. Have you got any job strategies that particularly work for you? If you do, leave it in a comment under this video or under this podcast and let us know what your strategy was for getting a job. Otherwise, as always, I encourage you to leave a review or a rating or a thumbs up. Please subscribe, tipsforlawyers.com/YouTube for the videos, tipsforlawyers.com/iTunes for the podcast. And that is all for today. I'll see you next time.